Welcome to Turmeric and Tequila with your host, Kristen Olson. Questioning a better way, one gracefully disruptive conversation at a time.
Welcome to Turmeric and Tequila. I'm excited to be here with you today. It is a solo cast. Last week we had my conversation come out about rhabdo. I got a fitness injury, if you didn't know, and I discussed the science on it with Steve Naguib, and he broke down what rhabdo is. Every athlete needs to listen to it, so go do it. Today, I'm going to tell you what led up, what my process was for that, and then I'm going to have a follow-up cast that will tell you what you need if you think you're going to go to the ER, because there's a whole way to do that situation correctly. And I would have done a lot different, and the hospital, like what to pack, what to be ready for. I didn't know any of this stuff. So that will be on our next cast. So go listen to the rhabdo one, the science behind it. I'm going to tell you the story today. And then the third part will be what to do when you're unexpectedly going to the ER and what to bring. So before we jump off today, I want to give a thank you to our sponsors, Colorado Clownfish Swim Club. They offer swim lessons and water safety training for all ages. They believe in life skills through sports, so go check them out today. They've got a ton of specials going on for the holiday season. You need to know how to swim all year round. coloradoclownfish.com. And Declan James watches. They are local and veteran owned. Go check them out. They give 10% of all their proceeds back to the Navy SEAL Foundation. So go see what they have going on. All perfect things for the gift giving season. All right, so let's tell the story. I have just a little background on me. I was a D1 athlete. I grew up with three brothers. I competed in the CrossFit Games. I've done CrossFit for over 17 years. I've done a lot of fitness, and obviously turmeric and tequila. I love the party. I love the fun. We've done lots of days where it's fitness training, and then we go have drinks afterwards and party and fun. If you can imagine, even like CrossFit Games, we're in the sun, we're on the hot clay, it's like 10 degrees hotter, doing like our fifth workout of the day in the heat, dehydrated, and then we'd go party afterwards, and never had any sort of rhabdo situation. So if you don't know what rhabdo is, go listen to the podcast I did with Steve. But in a nutshell, it's basically where you overtrain one part of your body. There are different versions of rhabdo, but the one that I had was overexertion. And I did the Fossil Games at Bladium on a Saturday. This was about 3 weeks ago now. And it wasn't about the amount of fitness. It was kind of a perfect storm. Like I said, I've done way harder fitness competitions, and this is like it's for fun. Obviously, we always go 100%, but it was like a for fun annual competition we do every year. And Fossil Games, obviously one of my favorite. I am totally biased because I go to Bladium, so we love it. And it was amazing programming. It was an amazing day. But in a nutshell, went there and I did one of the workouts was like a Fran style workout. So we had 3 workouts that day. This was the second one, and it was 3 rounds. We were teams of 3, all female, doing Fran 3 times. It opened with like 1,000-meter row. And then I think we closed out with something. I can't remember. But the important piece is that I did most of the pull-ups because I can do butterfly pull-ups. You can argue if those are real pull-ups or not. But I'm very efficient at the butterfly kipping pull-up. And I did most of them. We had one of our girls do most of the thrusters. I did most of the pull-ups because we were both good at those things. And then we had our third woman fill in whenever we needed a break. So it was an amazing strategy. We actually won the workout. I probably did 100, I think I did the math. There was like 125 pull-ups total, and we finished, I think, in 9 minutes. So taking apart the row from the beginning, within 6 minutes, I probably did about 120 pull-ups. So that's not strict pull-ups. It's kipping pull-ups. I can kip them again very efficiently. It's a lot of pull-ups, but I've definitely done more. If you've done Murph before, that's 100 pull-ups. It is a little more broken up, but I did a lot in a row, and I haven't been training, obviously, like I have been in the past. So my CrossFit Games mind is still in play, even though, that was 10 plus years ago. So we did a bunch of pull-ups, and then we had a floater workout. And then the third workout, which was awesome, was like a deadlift ladder. So it wasn't crazy heavy. You did 3 reps. I think it was starting at like 125, or maybe it was lighter than that. And there was like 10 series, and it maxed out at 185. And at that last one, you did as many deadlifts as you could do at 185 in 1 minute for for reps. So I do a reverse grip. So if you don't know what that is, that's where my right arm is facing out. Like, so my bicep is facing out, and my left arm is facing towards me. And I deadlift that way. And I went to blackout because that's how we roll on that workout. And I got 30 deadlifts. Somebody did actually get 40. Congrats to her. And it went well, but I was pretty like, that was to blackout zone. So again, this wasn't like games level where I'm like, you can't see straight, like you're just totally maxed out. I wasn't there. But I think coupled with the pull-ups and then doing the deadlifts, like these very specific motions, both kind of isolating my right biceps, I think that is what triggered the entire situation. So just the course of events, just to frame it for you, this was a Saturday. So Saturday we had the Fossil Games, and then my birthday was October 21st. This was the 18th. So we were celebrating my birthday that night, and everything, the way the bar we were working with, shout out to Broderick off Wash Park or in Wash Park. They are amazing. Go check them out. The way the dates worked, like everything just happened to be on that day. And to be honest, if you know me, that happens in my life all the time. I'll have like a month of no events, and then everything will fall in one day. So when people are like, why don't you spread it out and pace it? I'm like, I try, but sometimes the universe just shows up the way it shows up. So we packed it all in. And honestly, it was an amazing day. The Fossil Games, it was so great to have that back up and running in motion. My dad established it many years ago. So it's very nostalgic and awesome to be part of that. And then we had a new bar. We were celebrating Turmeric and Tequila and my friend Paula and I's birthday at Broderick. So it was just like a beautiful, fun day. So we worked out, was done about, I don't even know, 2:00. I went and got my hair done. I probably didn't hydrate enough. I had a half a glass of champagne at my hair place. And then I went home, walked my dogs, and got dressed and went over to the party. And this wasn't even like a big drinking bash. It was for Turmeric and Tequila. So you're sipping a drink and you're talking to people and you're mingling, what have you. And that wrapped up around 11. And then of course my mom and I went out because it was my birthday, and one of my other friends knew of this dance place. I don't know if anyone in Colorado knows it, but Milk Bar. It was not Milk Bar downtown. It was off Broadway, like a 5-level club. I haven't been out a ton in Denver lately, but I didn't know that we even had that. So this was like this rare random find that happened to be my birthday night. It was my mom, myself, and a couple friends, and it was amazing. We're like walking up and down the stairs, and again, not drinking a ton. I think transparently between the dry bar drink at the hair place, and then from like by the time I went to bed, there was probably 7 to 9 drinks the whole night, 2 shots. So like super spread out, nothing crazy. Now, would I suggest, I'm not a doctor, but that you train to do a competition and then go drinking? No. Does that happen all the time in sports? In almost every competition? Absolutely. So this is why I think this PSA is so important, because I have trained harder. I have drank more after it. And like, this was just like that perfect storm. So you do need to be hyper aware. So come Sunday, after Fossil Games and after the birthday party and then us staying out, I took Sunday pretty easy. Didn't even walk the dogs. I actually drank 2 like electrolyte drinks that are pretty like electrolyte sodium based. And then I went to Chipotle because I'm a boss, and I got 2 meals because I was going to eat one, like a chicken salad early. And then I got like a quesadilla for later because I knew I didn't want to cook. I don't know if you're a varsity human and you order 2 meals for one person, but that's what's up. And so I ate both of those and just chilled, like rested, felt like tired because I had fitness, kind of hungover. But we drank good tequila, so it wasn't that big of a deal, but not terrible. Like I felt fine. Nothing. I was pretty sore, but not awful. And then come Monday, I went to the gym just to do like a recovery workout and move. I woke up super swollen. I looked in the mirror and I was like, oh my God, my face is swollen. Like I was doing like the eye patches, and I even did like the cold compress. I have like a jade roller, and I was kind of just stretching. I put on like compression gear. And when I got to the gym, my friends at Keep It Real were like, yo, they're like, you are so swollen. My friend Alma was like, yo, you're really swollen today. I'm like, I know. I just like moved a little. I couldn't even do a pull up. And that happened to be in the workout on Monday. So I was like, damn, I'm kind of swollen. So I moved around. I felt a little better, moved some blood. Again, not thinking anything's that big of a deal. And I had a meeting that day and some phone calls. So I went to the meeting and I was on FaceTime. Someone called. And so someone got to see me at this point. And this is a detail I'll explain later. But in person, I met with my cousin, and then I had another business meeting, and I went home, walked the dogs, had a normal day. And then like come 10 o'clock, I was getting ready to get in the shower and I was looking in the mirror. My right bicep was huge. And that Sunday night, I didn't even really put this together, but that Sunday night before the gym at like 4 a.m., my right bicep cramped. And I didn't know if it was a muscle spasm or just like a hydration cramp or what. And it cramped, it hurt. And then like I couldn't really straighten my arm, but it was like 4 a.m., whatever. So I just went back to bed. And then Monday, I just kind of stretched it out. So that Monday night when I was looking in the mirror, I'm like, God, right where that cramp was, my arm is super swollen. My arm looks like as big as my dad's. It's huge. Like this isn't, something's off. And at this point in the game, I was 44 literally at that point. It was the day before my birthday. You know your body. I know how I get sick. I know how I get injured. Like, when something's not right. And this is something I hadn't seen before. In my mind, I was thinking, I might have a blood clot. Like this is super stiff. It's super swollen. I didn't do anything crazy. Like this can't be right. So I was like, okay, it's 10 o'clock. I'm going to run up to urgent care. My actual birthday is tomorrow. I'll be home in an hour. Not a big deal. So I go to urgent care and the guy working there at 10 o'clock at night was like, he happened to do CrossFit and he's like, what's the story, Jordan? And he's like, you need to get your stuff together right now. You need to go to the hospital. Leave here. He's like, I can do a blood test on you, but I think you have rhabdo and you need to go to the hospital right now. So I was like, wait, what? What's going on? Like, okay, break this down. So I just was, at this point, I had never been to the ER. I've done 3 knee surgeries, 1 major ACL reconstruction. I've done small surgeries. I actually had a lump moved out of my breast that was benign when I was like 25. I've done a deviated septum on my nose. Like I've done stuff. So I know surgery. So I've never really been in the ER. So I was like, okay, I just Googled the closest hospital and went over there. And little did I know, I walked in and it wasn't a shit show, but kind of. If you've been to the ER, if you haven't, like I said, I'm going to do a podcast to break this down to what to expect when you're unexpectedly going to the ER, because it is a whole vibe. And this was an experience. I get in there and I could see it wasn't super crowded, but there was like a girl throwing up in a cup. And like, if you know me, I don't do throw up. Like, God bless her. I felt so bad for her. Like, people are sick in the ER. Like, obviously it's bad. There was a baby that was really sick. So the parents are freaking out. One guy came in and he's like, I'm really drunk and I'm going to harm myself or someone else. So like that tugged at my heartstrings, having addiction in my family. And all this just really emotional stuff. And you're obviously like really empathetic because people are in their worst moment. And I actually was. I didn't feel that bad. Like I knew something was wrong, but that was kind of like the mind F, is that I couldn't see anything, but I knew something was wrong and everyone around me was kind of freaking out. So then I'm like, should I be freaked out? And so you check into the ER and they're like, all right, take a seat. Like they're just not that emergent, which is kind of ironic. And I'm asking them like, well, how long do you think I'm going to be here? I left my dogs, it's a whole thing that I'm nervous about. And they're like, well, the average stay is like 6 to 11 hours. And I'm like, wait, what? Like, that's insane. I don't have 11 hours. Tomorrow's my birthday. Obviously I wasn't saying this because there's bigger things going on. I wasn't just worried about myself. But I was like, okay. So I just literally sat outside of the waiting room because everyone's sick and all this stuff's going on. Like next to it, I put on my hoodie and I just sat there and I didn't have my earphones. My phone battery was dying. Again, I was ill prepared. So I didn't know. And like this girl's getting sick. Like it's just this whole thing. And I'm kind of feeling okay. So I'm like, am I wasting my time? Am I wasting their time? Am I taking someone's space that really needs this? They kind of check me in and then I go sit out there. They finally put me into a room where there's no walls. And I mean, there's like curtains. So you're hearing everything around you. A different girl was like, I don't know if she had food poisoning or what, but this human, I thought she was dying. She was getting sick so bad. And like the whole vibe was there. And then a man and a wife was next to me and I don't know if he had a hernia or what. And they were like, just shove it back in. I'm like, what is happening? And it wasn't funny. So over the course of 11 hours, I was sitting there with no earphones. I didn't have a charger for my phone. So I was freaked out. My phone wasn't going to work. And I didn't know if I'd be able to get a hold of someone to watch my dogs. And meanwhile, it's my birthday. Like at midnight, I was turning 45. So in the scheme of things, the birthday wasn't important. Like there's humans going through really scary things. And that was hard. But just sitting in it and sitting there, not even knowing what's going on with myself, was a wild trip. But what I will say, and I felt good about, is that I never freaked out. I almost unintentionally and automatically went into my competitive mode of composure and efficiency. Like, if you're at the CrossFit Games or competing, or even at the Fossil Games, like when in doubt, You conserve energy. You do not freak out. You don't yell at the ref. You don't act out. Like, you conserve, you move efficiently so you can think and solve the problem. Like, I just immediately flipped into that mode. So even hating throw up and being in that, like, I was calm, I was collected, I had control over my energy. I could tell I had done some personal work because I wasn't freaking out, like being by myself or being still, and like all the emotions and dramas and stuff I'd been avoiding flooded in. Like, none of that happened. So there was a few silver linings here, but that was one of them where I could just sit there, no joke, like staring at the wall for close to 11 hours, waiting to hear. At one point, they did bring in an IV because they did a blood test, I think on like hour 2 or 3. And then they're like, you do have rhabdo. They're like, we're going to check you for a blood clot. So they brought me back and did a scan on my arm, an ultrasound. That was determined that that wasn't the case. It was rhabdo. And they said, they IV'd me, like, we're going to figure it out. And then they ran my insurance. So like, just a PSA, if you do have insurance or not, you can go to any ER emergency room in the state of Colorado, regardless what insurance you have. However, if they need to admit you to the hospital, they do check your insurance, and then they have to move you if your insurance doesn't take it. And I actually, thank God, do have good insurance. As an entrepreneur, we pay out of pocket. So some people skimp on that. Knowing my lifestyle and my luck, that is not something I skimp on. And I was sitting in the ER thinking, I am so thankful that I do have health coverage, that I can afford it, and that I didn't have to second guess going to get healthcare. Because, and with this kind of situation specifically, had I not had insurance, I probably wouldn't have gone in because I didn't think it was that big of a deal. So the gratitude, I do think it's a good pro tip if you're freaking out, to find that angle of gratitude, of thinking, I am so thankful in this day and age in our country that I have healthcare where I can sit here and know that I'm going to be taken care of. I have options. And if something is serious, we can address it. And I even have insurance on my dogs because I don't want to think twice about financials of like taking care of them and whatnot. So that immense thought process of gratitude was a key factor in me being able to maintain composure for 11 hours and not knowing. And like the nurses, I wasn't really a priority, and I can agree with that. So it was hit and miss. I was getting almost no information. Finally, they did come in. They diagnosed me with rhabdo. They said your CK, your creatinine kinosis, I'm not saying it correctly, listen to Steve for when he says it on my podcast prior, was at 11,000. And I think it's supposed to be around like 30 or something like that, but it was extremely elevated. It can get into like the 100,000s, supposedly the millions if it's bad. And that's basically like what happened is I had overtrained my right bicep, but really both biceps, and it continued to just break down. And the my kidneys were getting overwhelmed with the hemoglobin. Again, listen to Steve. And the enzymes were just, instead of being absorbed and running through my body, they were just staying there. And if you leave it, it can overwhelm your kidneys and you can go into kidney failure. So there's the non-scientific breakdown. But in a nutshell, I basically overtrained, and my muscles were continuing to break down, and my body couldn't handle it. Hence my body was inflamed. And usually the two signifiers are you have like Coca-Cola colored urine, or you're super swollen. I didn't know about the swollen piece. Obviously, I would have thought that was a piece of it. But as I was Googling rhabdo, I'm like, this is the thing. What are the signs? My urine was a different color, and I take vitamins. So like that wasn't really like, a super thing that would stand out to me anyways. Obviously, like bright yellow if you take vitamin C, and like Coca-Cola color is two different things. But my urine wasn't like an outstanding different color. Other than the swelling and the pain, I didn't have clear indicators that I had rhabdo. But when I Googled it, it was like a few things: inflammation, super pain, slow cognitive response. I did remember on Saturday before we went out, before we were even drinking, when I was talking to my mom at my house, I had like really delayed recall, and I couldn't put sentences together as normal as possible, or as I normally could. And I was pretty tired, so I just chalked it up to that. And in the days leading up to it, I was pretty exhausted. I had a bunch leading up, helping prepare for the events and get sponsors for the CrossFit Games and get my party together. And I had a bunch of work stuff. I think I had a podcast. Like, I was just running on E. So I was dehydrated as well. So fast forward, I'm in the ER. Like, you need to go to the hospital. Your insurance is not taken here at St. Anthony, so we're going to transfer you to St. Luke's. Do you want an ambulance? And I said, no, absolutely not. I had left my dogs for over 11 hours now. I've been up literally all night since the day before, training, meetings, ER, urgent care, ER. Like, I have not slept yet. So I got my stuff finally. They released me and they're like, you need to go home or you need to go straight to the hospital. And I was like, yeah, right. I went and I felt fine. I knew it was serious, but like we were okay. So I went home. I'm not a doctor. I do not take this as medical advice. I'm not advising this, but this is the truth. I went home to my house. I was showered. I was disgusting. I felt disgusting. Walked my dogs. I packed a bag for the hospital. Like I didn't know what to expect, how long I was going to be there. I had no idea. So I just did what I could. I arranged for my dogs to be taken care of, thank God. And major shout out to my friends and family that showed up and helped make that happen. That was a whole other piece of it. I uh finally I ate some food and then I went over. It was weird, but I like parked and checked myself into the hospital. And I have some video on my social I'll reshare on this one. You can see me going in and I do look swollen. I didn't realize how bad I really did look, but I like packed a bag and just checked in and then they put me in a room. Honestly, it was like really nice and I felt a really weird type of way, like almost guilty taking up a spot. Because when you're going in to a hospital, knock on wood, I had not been in there in a while, you see really sick people and sick things, like really serious stuff going on. So again, moments of gratitude that even I was going in and I deserved and needed to be there and blah, blah, blah. But it's just that moment of check-in of like, damn, like life is good. There's things that I want to change. There's goals that I have. There's things that I want to level up for myself. But overall, I am thankful for my health and again to have healthcare. Like I just being in that spot, not knowing what to do or knowing this was all going to be coming out of my pocket, like that in itself will give you an emotional, mental and physical breakdown. So I really tried to stay in that space of gratitude, even not knowing just knowing that I had care and like I did have people I could call to help with my dogs and people checking in on me and sending flowers and a lot of it. So I finally get into the hospital. Honestly, I got there at like, I think noon. They didn't even IV me until 3 o'clock. So I almost could have just stayed home and got work done. Obviously, I wasn't going to do that, but I could have. So, like as a competitor, as an entrepreneur, like you're thinking like, oh, when could I have done more work? So I finally get an IV. They come in, they retest me like, yes, you definitely have rhabdo. It's bad. It started to go down one day and then it went up. So this is like come day two, they're asking me, they're like, we know you worked out. Like, what did you do? And I was like 100 pullups. And to a non-CrossFit person, they're like, Jesus, like why are you doing this? Like, I'm like, listen, it's kipping pullups. And once you try and explain CrossFit to a non-CrossFitter, it's like, it sounds even worse than it is. So they're not the weird ones. We are. But they're like asking like, do you do steroids? We only usually see this in men that do anabolic steroids. And I'm like, no, look at me. Does it look like I do steroids? Like, and they asked me if I did cocaine that night. I'm like, no, I don't. I'm not a drug person. Like no shade to anyone in their life choices, but I've never done cocaine. That's not my vibe. And most of my life I have been drug tested as an athlete. So it's never even been able to be the vibe. So I don't know. It was just some funny things where I was just sitting there like, where am I? And in all this, I'm swollen, but I don't look injured. Like I don't have a cut open ACL from reconstructive surgery or a hurt shoulder or like a busted open head. Like there's nothing to see. So that was just like a super weird mind situation. So by, day 3, it's literally day to day. Like they're testing my blood every few hours to see if my CK goes down and it's not. I'm texting like my doctor friends. And a lot of the doctors were amazing. The nurses were amazing. The experience in itself outside of being sick was very nice. The food was good. The humans were great. Like I have no complaints and I have so much admiration for our doctors and nurses and our healthcare individuals that take care of people because it cannot be easy. Like I heard people complaining about stuff and, some of it's their worst day and you have really emotional family. It's just a lot. So I had a new empathy more than even what I had before for what they did. And I tried to be like a chill patient because I was just laying there swollen, but otherwise I was okay. I could eat and chill and whatever. But the doctors didn't really have a ton of intel for me on what rhabdo is and why I got it. One doctor at one point was even like, yeah, I Googled it. And I'm like, wait, what? So that's when I started texting my health professionals and I'm, very grateful to have a wealth of humans that are in this arena that know and can tell me details on what was going on, guys that I train with and women that know me. And so I had intel on the back end, but there wasn't really a definitive, conversation about what's going on. And even when finally, like on day 5, I was in the ER and then 4 days later, even on my birthday, I was in the hospital. They didn't have a ton. Even they discharged me like you can like train easy. Like if CrossFit's still a fit for your life, that's fine, but really be smart about it. And you can drink alcohol, you can do this. And I was like, wait, what? Like my CK when they finally let me go was right around 5,400 and they like to let you go around 5,000. But I was like, listen, this is day 5. I have to go home and take care of my dogs. I don't know how single parents or people really do it if you don't have support. Like that's another empathy level that I had, that being single, I have 3 dogs at home. If it was just me and I didn't have animals or responsibility at home, I would have posted up at the hospital probably for like a month and just been like, let's just chill. They feed you, they clean up the room. Like, it's not that bad. But I have responsibilities and I have a business. Obviously, my health is first. And you can only like tap into your community for so long. So I told him, like, listen, I need to go. One of my dogs like really wasn't eating and like it was affecting her. So, and I just needed to get home. So they released me a little bit, maybe more than they should, but I abided by the rules. I called my own health people for my own protocol. I didn't drink. Like, I haven't drank. I think I had 2 glasses of wine even since. Like, there's just no need for it. So I'm being very monitored of my behavior. But there was stuff they didn't tell me that, I didn't know was going to be a piece of it. So that's when I interviewed Steve. But long story short, I finally got out. I came home. I've been hydrating since. I did have these episodes where like my limbs and extremities would get really, really cold. I get tired. My workouts and like my whoop, I'm not recovering as fast. So there have been some immediate residuals for it, but basically it's like you hydrate and they flood you with fluids. I was 20 pounds heavy when I got out of there. Over the 5 days, I gained 20 pounds of fluids. It took about 3 days for it to go away, and I've actually been a little bit lighter. I'm obviously not training as much. I haven't lifted heavy since. So I'll probably lose some muscle mass, but I can get that back. But other than these cold episodes and just my body feeling weird and acclimating back into it, I'm okay, and I should make a full recovery. There's a few things to watch out for that Steve covered in our cast moving forward, but otherwise you're fine, and it shouldn't happen again. The reason I want to talk about this and share is that number one, get healthcare. Like, take care of that. Have it in your back pocket. If it's Medicaid or whatever it is, spend the money, find a way, have yourself covered, because you don't want to find yourself in a situation when you least expect it. And Rhabdo does tend to hit healthy humans. Like, we don't really know ones that you wouldn't think would be going to the hospital, because we can overtrain. We're trained to overtrain, and it's a perfect storm. And the major pull away, I think, was that I was dehydrated. I did overtrain specific muscle groups, but those days leading up, I should have hydrated even more. And you don't want to train and then drink, but I don't think it was that. I do think it was the physical movements. And that was a huge, huge piece of it. And then letting it go, getting too swollen. So listen to your community when they say you're swollen and you look different, and trust your intuition. When I was looking at myself that night in the mirror, I was like, dude, something is just off. Like, I feel fine. I think I can hydrate through this. But I was like, I just think I need to go in. And again, had I not healthcare, I probably would have just like, I can power through. And if you let it go, you can go into kidney failure and you actually can die. So I wasn't close to that, or at least I don't want to think that I was. And you don't want to even get to that point, but you need to advocate for yourself. You need to trust your intuition. And even around the medical health professionals, I have 0 complaints. My people were great. I still needed to ask the right questions, tap into my local community and say, what is protocol? What do you suggest? Because I didn't know what was going on. I didn't really know what to expect afterwards. And I could have freaked out. But once I had the intel from my people, or I asked the right questions, I was like, oh, okay, this is normal. Here's what I can expect moving forward. So that's what happened in a nutshell. Trained, partied, didn't know, woke up swollen 3 days later, and then finally got a blood test that got diagnosed with Rhabdo. And it took 5 days in the hospital to eradicate that. And it's still, I'm, 3 weeks later, I tested my blood, and I was still at like my CKA was at 250. So still elevated. So I still have to play nice. I'm not going to do anything heavy or crazy in the gym until the new year. I think I did DT, if you know it, at 65 pounds. I did squat snatch through like a series of lead ups up to 105, but I would normally get up to like 125 or something close to that, miss 125. No, we would have hit it. Just kidding. But we're just taking it easy. So I've definitely recalibrated the goals for the year. I do think that universe paused me intuitively and just sort of planning for 2026. I want to focus all of the podcast on healing for the new year. So it's funny that for my 45th birthday, I was in the hospital healing and recovering and having time to think. I did, even being there for 5 days, my humans were like, oh, you must have got so much done. I'm like, no, I did keep up on the socials. The only reason I was sharing it was because I had people coming in and asking and messaging and saying, are you okay? What's going on? I heard you in the hospital. So I had to streamline some communication with just some posts, but I actually wasn't even going to share it because I didn't think it was that big of a deal. And now coming through it, it was a big deal. Had it been untreated, it would have been a very, very big deal. So I will continue to share and talk about this and PSA it, but advocate for yourself, and then take the gold out of it. I would say some beautiful through lines I heard from humans I hadn't heard from in years that I trained with many moons ago at different gyms, talking, and we laughed about Rhabdo because it was like this CrossFit myth, but nobody ever had it, and all of a sudden I did. That was funny. So I got to see people came to the hospital I hadn't seen in a while, and they drove from like Parker, like just really beautiful human through lines that I could get emotional talking about even now. Of I got to see people I wouldn't have seen on my actual birthday. I got to talk to people. I had time to sit. I had proof that I had done personal work where you're sitting still, you're alone in a room. Are all the feels going to come through and you're going to freak out? I absolutely didn't. I felt very comfortable. I felt deep, deep gratitude for access to care, and then having, this beautiful room and people taking care of me, my friends showing up, helping with my dogs and my family. And there was just so much gratitude and gratitude for my body that, I had whooped the shit out of it, but it's here and we're okay. And I made the right decision to get help, ask for help, and then ask for help from family and friends for support. So many little beautiful through lines and lessons and learnings, and just having to mine the gold out of a situation that wasn't super awesome, particularly on my birthday. So monitor yourself, take care of yourself, please get health coverage however you can, and be ready to ask for help. I know that's a continual lesson in my life that I'll continually have to learn, but we were there and we did it. And one big, massive thank you to everyone that showed up, reached out, sent flowers, helped with my dogs, helped cover lunch for them or dinner, or stayed the night when they were already busy. Special shout out to my friend Paula. It was her birthday and she ended up staying at my house with my dogs that night. So she is more than family and my dogs love her. So her being there, like, again, we're not gonna have a breakdown right now, but like such fuel to my soul. My mom and brother came and stayed at my house. My dad came to the hospital. Friends sent flowers. Friends showed up at the hospital. My friend Jess came to it. So all of it, the gratitude and the sincere love and support that I felt was such a magical thing in a space that I didn't really anticipate being in at all. It took me totally by surprise. So I will do a follow-up post with this on, just some of the details. You can see how my body was like 20 pounds heavier, which was wild. Just how quickly like things can change in a moment. Like I had no idea that by Monday night I was going to be in the hospital for the next week and we're going to be a totally different birthday than we thought. So much gratitude. I'm okay. It's fine. Please take care of yourself and each other and pay attention to your body. You have to listen and advocate for what's going on because shit can get real really, really fast. So that's my journey. What a couple of days that was. 45. I'm excited. We're going to get this party lit in 2026 in a responsible way. But it's going to be great. So thank you. Please go check out our sponsors, Colorado Clownfish. They are doing water safety and swim lessons for all ages. So go check them out, coloradoclownfish.com. This podcast will be wherever you get your podcast. So please like and subscribe. I'm excited for 2026. The video will be on YouTube. I love you all so much. And I'm thankful to be here. I have so much gratitude for everybody that showed up. And please call me if you need something. I'm not even kidding because I've been through it and I'm there and we need each other. So thank you. And I love you. And we'll see you next week. Cheers.
Thank you for joining Turmeric and Tequila with your host, Kristen Olson. Tune in next time, and don't forget to subscribe on Apple, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen.